This program is for informational and educational purposes only. This program is not a solicitation or recommendation for any investment or security. Investments or securities mentioned in this show may or may not be owned by Nepsis Advisor Services. Nepsis Advisor Services is an SEC-registered investment advisor. Tune in to Sunny 1320 and 1450 Wednesdays at 11:30 to Journeys with Joni. You'll learn more about the financial decisions we make every day and how we can gain financial clarity in our lives. So join Joni Rametta Wednesdays at 11:30 here on Sunny.
Welcome to Journeys with Joni. My name is Joni Rametta, and I'm here today with my co-host, Mark Clark. Join us as we travel on the financial road to clarity. I think today, Mark, we need to start discussing about some of the things that are going on in our office and some of the phone conversations that we're having with clients lately, because we've had some pretty interesting conversations, don't you think?
Yeah, I think we have. They've been fun. I think they've been challenging. And mostly, I think they're eye-opening. Oh,
very much eye-opening. Very much eye-opening. There's a lot of things going on around in everybody's lives trying to figure out what they're going to do, where they're going to be. By the way, tax season is upon us, so anybody out there who has not made their IRA contribution and is eligible to do so, you're running out of time.
Yeah, that kind of takes us into the last-minute decision-making thought process.
Yeah, last minute. So that's never a good thing to do.
Never.
Wow.
So planning. You referenced a couple of conversations or phone calls that we've had. We've had some real good heart-to-heart conversations when it comes to planning, but maybe it would help if we just kind of give an overview of. I want to share a conversation. I won't say who the person is I had the conversation with, but I think it's a great conversation piece to talk about. But before we get into that, what is planning? I mean, people hear planning and they go, "Oh my gosh, how do I do that? That's a lot of work. I don't want to do it." What is it in our office?
Well, in our office, planning is a lot of work, but it's not a lot of work that you have to do necessarily on one side. But it's basically putting all of our ducks in a row, knowing exactly what we have, going through a checklist that we have about your investments, you have your IRAs, life insurance, beneficiaries, making sure all your documents are up to date, trusts, power of attorneys,
my will, all those legal
stuff, right? Tax returns, looking at taxes and making sure that things are happening there properly. So it's basically sort of taking an inventory, putting it all together. We have a process that we go through, putting it all together, and then creating a plan based on what you have, what you think you're doing, and then where you want to be. So
basically, it's your plan. It's our clients' goals, and it's their plan.
Correct.
Our job is just to make it all work according to the directions or instructions that our clients give us.
Well, make it work or have that conversation. Sometimes it says, well, that plan's not necessarily going to work with what we have here, so we either have to change the goal a little bit, or we have to change what we have to meet that goal.
So you're taking me down the conversation we had in the car on the way in here with somebody that's a client of our firm. And the cool thing about the conversation is when we help someone make a decision, it's based on a fact pattern. It's based on, there's a proverb that says, know the condition of your flocks. Well, we don't have cows and pigs and sheep these days. Well, some people do, but that's how they used to measure their wealth years and years and years ago back in, the Old
Biblical
Testament
times.
days. Yes. So today we measure it in money.
Mm-hmm.
And if I know the condition of my flocks, if I know the condition of my household financially and how all the parts and components work together and what is going on, I'm able to make a more effective decision. So if we can communicate openly about the plan and how a decision is going to
impact the plan
in a positive or negative way, right?
Correct.
Then the client of our firm is able to make a better decision, not necessarily in what we would think is good or bad, but more about the decision consequences going into it, and therefore you can make the decision based on what's good for you.
Right. Because a lot of times, it comes back to this. Everybody thinks that money is power. Money has no power until you put power behind the money that you have.
That's
so, correct. Yeah, I saw that quote in a book I read recently. So I think, power allows you to act. Money, you lay a dollar bill down on the table and it has no power. It doesn't do anything.
Right.
Okay. Until we human beings have the power to pick that dollar up and choose to invest it, spend it, or do something with it. So we have to take an inventory of where our plan is, where our flock is, where our money is all at, and then base that on the decision that you're about to make. And in this case, the person wanted to take some cash out of his investment portfolio for the benefit of somebody else.
Loan, gift, whatever it is for you, whatever you're thinking of.
Right, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that then affect what is left? And how does that also affect, and in this case, if it's, if you're going to take a big chunk of money out of your investments, that's going to affect your portfolio and the performance, and it's going to maybe prevent you from doing something years from now. But then again, where's that money going to? And if it's going to, let's say, I don't know, a relative, if you're going to, give money to a relative to buy a house or an investment in a business, is it a gift? If it's a gift, it's not coming back, which is fine. But if it's not a gift and it's a loan and it's supposed to get paid back, what happens if it doesn't get paid back? Exactly. And then what happens to the relationship now that we have with that person, whether it's your best friend or it's your brother or your brother-in-law or your cousin? That'll change, those things change the dynamics of the relationship now.
So our conversation on the phone kind of went along this line. The question was asked to us, the planners, say, well, what should I do? And our response was, that's a great question. We don't know. Why don't we circle the wagons, come into the office, let's take a snapshot of where we are today. Let's go back and take a look at, know the condition of your flocks today, and then make your decision based on where you are and what you said your overall objective was in your plan. And the person on the other end of the phone said, that's a great idea. I'm in. So they're coming in and they're going to make the decision based on a fact pattern, not an emotional. And
it's always easier once you take the emotions out of it, because emotions really play with your heart. And if you're an emotional heart person anyway, that really plays hard.
Yeah, and God created us with emotions, and so it's not bad to have those things, but
absolutely not.
It could get you into trouble. And I'm an emotional type person. I'm not a calculating type of decision maker. I make it more with an emotion, and oftentimes I find it better that I go ahead and think about it, but not do anything. Make a commitment to say, okay, I'm going to sleep on it, and I'm going to come back in 2 days. And oftentimes I find the emotion that was in the moment has left.
Right.
Or cut in half.
Or is weaker than it was.
Exactly. Right. So, I know we're coming up on a break here, but the planning process is something that, when you hear the word planning, all of a sudden you think math, you think numbers and figures. But when we come back, Joni, let's talk about the relationship component and the emotional component of, what it means to plan and what it can help us do, whether we're here or whether we're gone and we're leaving others with the ramifications of what our goals and decisions are. There's a lot to it.
Very much.
We have a blast doing it. It's a lot of fun because you begin to see people come alive and see them go, oh, I didn't even know I had those options. So we'll talk about some of that after the break.
And a little bit of relief, too, in a lot of cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we'd love for you to visit us at www.journeyswithjoni. We've got some workshops coming up. You can RSVP there, get the information on the website. And you can give us a call at 361-1484. If you have any questions, we'd love to talk with you. And Journeys with Joni will be right back.
Do you know what you own and why you own it? Join us for our next workshop to learn about investing with clarity by calling 941-361-1484 to reserve your seat today. Joni and Mark look forward to discussing the philosophy, strategy, flexibility, and transparency, the 4 pillars of investing with Nepsis Advisor Services. Call today, 941-361-1484. That's 941-361-1484. Journey with Joni will be hosting a workshop on Thursday, February 20th. A great opportunity to meet Mark and Joni. So join them on February 20th. Please call 941-361-1484 today. To reserve your seat, call 941-361-1484 today. They look forward to meeting you.
Welcome back to Journeys with Joni. I'm Joni Rametta, and just before the break, Mark and I were discussing doing planning with our clients and some of the opportunities we've had recently, including some fun conversations and things like that. But I was reading a book recently, and this is perfect. I'm really glad I wrote the quote down because this wasn't planned at all. But there was a quote that says, according to Eastern philosophy, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is today.
That's pretty good.
I thought it was awesome.
What was the book you read?
It was called Prince Charming Isn't Coming. It's geared towards women, and the fact that women should know a little bit more about investing than a lot of women do. But there was a lot of things inside that book that were just like, that was just one of those quotes that just sort of hit me really hard with, that's true. Because a lot of clients come in and they go, I've never done a plan and it's too late. It's never too late. I mean, you plant the tree 20 years ago, we got shade today, but if you don't plant the tree ever, we'll never have shade. So if we start the plan today, even if it's late, I don't know. I guess late's better than never.
It is better than never, but you got me on a rabbit trail. If you've ever seen the movie Up, they've got the dog that says squirrel. So I've often joked about that. What an awesome movie that is. But, Prince Charming isn't coming. So, and it's written for women. Isn't that, and I haven't read the book because they never, Joni hasn't given me the book to read. Maybe my wife's read it, but the concept, I believe, from our conversations is you've got to kind of put your own house in order.
Correct. You can't just ignore it. You can't just assume that somebody else is taking care of you, as in a husband, a spouse. You're planning for your future is not your husband. He's not a financial plan. And in some cases, what happens if you don't have a Prince Charming, or like in my case, I had a Prince Charming who is not here anymore. So now it's like, okay, now I'm responsible.
Well, one way or another, all of us Prince Charmings are going to ride off into the sunset. And if
probably before all of us princesses.
If the princesses are left behind, this comes back to knowing the conditions of your flock. And, one of the passions we have, and I think this is the power of the tag team here with the two of us working together, the ladies love the fact that there's two of us, and the fact that you happen to be a female professional. And although I do listen emotionally, I'm still a guy. There's a country song in there somewhere. But the fact is that it's much easier to communicate with two of us, because oftentimes if I miss it, Joni will pick it up, and vice versa. But I think that is very prudent planning to say, what is out there. And I know, Joni, you have a great knack of helping people migrate through the things that they're concerned, cautious, scared, nervous, all those negative emotions about when it comes to planning.
Oh, there's a lot of scary stuff out there, but it's only scary because we don't know it. And it's only scary because I think in a lot of cases, we think we're doing it alone, or we're the first one.
Right.
Even though we know we're not the first one, we think we're the first one that has this problem, or we're the first one that's been in this situation, and it's usually not true. So what I find a lot is a lot of clients like to just talk through it. You get scared about doing that first thing, and it's never, it's like the radio show. The first time we did this, I was scared to death, and it's not that bad anymore.
You should have seen her face, folks, when we walked into the studio the first time. It was a deer in headlights. Oh no, you want me to do this? It's been awesome ever since.
It has been, but it's always the unknown is always scary. So if you can talk to somebody who's done it, I mean, in the case of the radio show, I have a friend who's done the radio show for Crystal's done it for like 18 years. Yeah. You have those conversations with her. She tells me what to expect. She gives me ideas. She's like, it's okay. She's listened to my radio and she says it's not bad. Well, I'm not bad. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm bringing up the rear. I can tell where that one's coming.
Sorry, it's the girls. But anyway, I'm just thinking that, we like to have conversations about the things that we don't know a lot about, and about the things that we're scared about. And so that's what I find in our planning is we find there's always something in somebody's plan that's a little bit more scary than anything else. And so we just walk them through it, take their hand, and we can do it together too. I've done a lot of conference calls with clients, calling other places to get information if they have it, or calling in another advisor or doing something like that. So there's no harm in, doing it in a group. And the fact that there's the two of us, I mean, we hear different things. You have different experiences than I've had. I mean, we've been in the same industry. We've been doing the same kind of things for a long time, but we got there different ways.
And I think that bodes well to the clients that we're working with, because it gives a different point of view.
Absolutely. It's always better to have, everybody wants a second opinion.
Yeah. I go back to the conversation that I referenced in the first part of the show, where we had a phone call on the way to the studio, where the client at the other end of the phone call was trying to make a decision. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the client was going to come in and meet with both of us and sit down and say, okay, I gave you some instructions. I gave you my wishes. I gave you all my stuff. And all the stuff is the stuff that people go, oh, I don't know what that is. And we've been able to make a lot of sense out of it and educate and communicate back with the client so they have an understanding of not only what they have, but how those things work in conjunction with each other. And that is really, really, really powerful. And that kind of leads into, and you know, we're getting close to a break, but in the last half of the show, or last third of the show, I want to talk about the coordination of the professionals. It is tax season. And, you know, I think it's not ironic at all that you mentioned that quote about the tree, because people tend to react to what they did in the last calendar year after the calendar year is over and then be upset at their accountant for the taxes that they're paying when they should have been planting the tree. You should be planting your tax tree for 2014 now.
Before December 31st.
Because you have so many more options. So we're going to talk in the next section about and we've had an attorney on the show before. We've had a CPA, both ladies. Mm-hmm. It's really cool. We have the opportunity to work with them, but most importantly, we have the opportunity to collaborate and work together so that, you know, you talked about the fear things that our clients have and how do we help coordinate or communicate that relationship so that it's more pleasant of a process in the planning process. And we'll talk about that in the last part.
Okay. Well, Journeys with Joni will be right back.
Do you know what you own and why you own it? Join us for our next workshop to learn about investing with clarity by calling 941-361-1484 to reserve your seat today. Joni and Mark look forward to discussing the philosophy, strategy, flexibility, and transparency, the 4 pillars of investing, with Nepsis Advisor Services. Call today, 941-361-1484. That's 941-361-1484. Journey with Joni will be hosting a workshop on Thursday, February 20th. A great opportunity to meet Mark and Joni. So join them on February 20th. Please call 941-361-1484 today to reserve your seat. Call 941-361-1484 today. They look forward to meeting you.
Welcome back to Journeys with Joni. I'm Joni Rametta, and just before the break, Mark and I were talking about planning, but Mark kept referenced the tree quote that I had earlier, so I just wanted to repeat it because I think it makes a lot of sense, and if you missed it the first time, you need to hear it. So the quote was, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is today.
That means don't wait.
That means don't wait.
And if you have waited, that's okay. You can borrow someone else's shade. But, hey, you know, one of the things before we go back into talking about the coordination of professionals, people, if you want to give us a call, 941-361-1484. And Joni's got a really cool website. Yeah,
the website. Well, actually, we just updated the website, put a couple things on it. It's www.journeyswithjoni.com. On there is my bios, information about Nepsis Advisor Services, our address, our phone number. And, of course, you can connect there for either to send me an email or to register for one of our upcoming workshops.
And you can also go there and listen live to this radio show on Wednesdays from 11:30 to 12. There's a listen live button.
That's great.
The other thing that'll be coming very quickly is we'll have on Joni's website the availability to go back and listen to old shows. Catch us before we were really good at what we're doing, right?
Yeah, like a rerun.
That's got to be fun and funny at the same time. But we were talking about the professionals, and the two we had were both females, and an estate planning attorney and a CPA.
Right.
And they were awesome. So, Joni, let's talk about, you are really good at working with the clients in bridging the conversation gap and helping people know what to ask, helping people know what to look for when it refers to estate planning and those documents. Mm-hmm. And what's been your experience as you've worked with people? You know, Beth Wascom was on the show a few weeks ago, but what's been your experience as people, the fears that they've had, and then talking about how you've kind of helped them through the process of getting the estate planning documents coordinated with the financial planning?
Well, I think one of the first things you do is you talk about, what documents do you currently have, if any. In a lot of cases, people don't even have wills and things like that. So the conversation then goes to, things like, do you have children, and who do you want to raise your children? I start asking open-ended questions about things that are going to happen should something happen to you, whether you're in a car accident and you're now in the hospital, or in some cases, if you were to die, what's going to be left with what you have and what have you taken care of? In a lot of cases, people don't have all that stuff done. Sometimes it's really old. So what we ask them to do is bring in whatever they have. I don't care how old it is. Let's look at it, because the latest thing you have is what's going to happen.
Right. Until you change it. So we review what you've done. And then in a lot of cases, we can set up a conference call with the attorney and just say, we've got a couple of concerns. Can we set up a time to either talk about it face to face, or just do some stuff over the phone? Whereas, I'm concerned, me as your planner is concerned that you don't have this, or that, whatever those things may be. Maybe sometimes there's a reason for it, and sometimes there's not. And it's just been something that, the attorney doesn't know that you've now, maybe opened your own business and done some of these things, because we don't tend to tell all of the right people the right things. We do things in a vacuum.
We do. And we just think everybody's going to know what we do. But, you need to tell your CPA that you have a business. You need to tell them before the end of the year so they can sort of set you up for doing things in the right way tax-wise.
Sure.
If we can save you taxes, that's important. But we can't do it if we don't know what you're doing. So you need to have those communications with your CPAs, with your attorneys, and with your financial planners.
And the planners tend to be the proactive communicators, because we're oftentimes working with the clients in their portfolio. So there's more
we're
cause
the ones that
for
actually
communication.
have the money.
Right.
In a lot of cases, your financial planner has the money. So we're having conversations with you more often than maybe an attorney, because usually you call your attorney when there's a problem, and you call your CPA when it's tax time.
After the end of the year, yeah.
And after the end of the year. So we're the ones that are sort of involved on a daily basis all the time. So that's why we sort of have our finger more maybe on the pulse, because we see things.
So we're able to help the clients communicate effectively. And you don't have to worry about not knowing what you don't know, because we're going to hold your hand and walk through that process. That brings up a thought. Or actually an event that happened a couple months ago. There was a famous actor that died. We were talking about this over the last couple of weeks, Philip Seymour Hoffman. The numbers aren't relevant here. It doesn't matter what the numbers are. But the fact of the matter is, whatever the gentleman had when he left this earth, he left it not in the most tax-efficient way, but he left it to the mother of his children,
right?
Which there is an easier and more tax-efficient. I mean, if you don't have a plan, folks, the government, the IRS has a plan for you. They will take it.
Yeah, they will take it. They'll take most of it.
No matter how, if you think you have to have $1 million for that to be a case, then that's just not the fact. You have to have everything in order, and you have to know what counts. So in his case, he left everything to the mother of his child, although he had 3 children, because he hadn't updated his plan, and it had 2 more children. It just complicated the issue. And the fact of the matter is, the government, between the states and the cities and the federal government, are going to get at least 50% of the estate. And, the kids who deserve the money and who should have the money aren't going to get what I'm sure Mr. Hoffman intended them to have. So, again, it comes back to being very proactive. And, I think we do a good job of simplifying it and making it a very pleasant process.
Right. And once you have all your ducks in a row and you have that checkup, if he would have had somebody in his life that would have said, hey, you got child number 2. Have you updated your documents yet? Maybe he would have left out 1 child.
Right.
But he would have at least gotten 2 out of the 3. But somebody should have been saying to him, you've had another baby, you've had another child, have you updated your documents? You've had a 3rd child, have you updated your documents? Maybe something just as simple as that would have saved so much grief for the kids, money. I mean, it's a big snowball.
Yeah, there are so many conditions that I can think of that I could probably take an entire radio show talking about conditions of family dynamics that can change one way or another that are going to affect how you would make your decision. And I think it really does come back to know the condition of your flocks, understanding what you have and where it's going to go. You throw in the tax ramifications, and, it's tax season. I've had conversations with the accountants and, asking them questions, Why don't we do this instead of that? Is this legal? Yes, this is, I didn't think of that. Again, they're reacting to, you're expecting the accountant to make a miracle out of what you've put down on paper.
Right.
And if you don't have that conversation, you're expecting an apple pie and you've given them the ingredients for, a roast. So it just doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So again, coming back to, and I know we're almost out of time, but coming back to the fact that we love planning, we love making it a great experience. There's a way for people to come in and just sit down. There's no cost, no obligation. Come down to the office and have an obligation or an opportunity, no obligation, to sit down and talk with Joni and myself. And we got a workshop coming up, or we have a schedule of them on. We have a
schedule of them now on the website. So thank you for sharing your time with us. We hope that you have learned something interesting and new. Please do not hesitate to give us a call at 941-361-1484. Or visit us at www.journeyswithjoni.com for more information. We would love to meet you at our next workshop. Reserve your seat by going to www.journeyswithjoni.com or give us a call at 361-1484. Journeys with Joni will be back next week. Until then, thank you for listening.